What's going on, everybody? Toby1 Shinobi here, and today we are doing an in-depth breakdown of every assault rifle in Chapter 5, Season 3. I'm also going to teach you a glitch to get zero recoil on your gun, how to mod each weapon best, and the best way to use each weapon. So let's get into it. Now, I know you might be wondering about the zero vertical recoil trick, so let's cover that first. I discovered this trick back in Chapter 4, Season 3, and it still works to this day, so I don't think Epic is going to patch it anytime soon. Basically, the guns in Fortnite all have a maximum vertical kick distance that the crosshair can travel. So if you hold down your fire button, the reticle will start low and then kick up slowly over time, and then reach a maximum height and stop. So with that being said, you can trick the game into thinking that you've already reached the maximum distance at the beginning of your magazine. The way you do this is by aiming much lower than your enemy, beginning to hold down your fire button, then quickly snapping your crosshair upwards onto your enemy and continuing to hold fire. Voila! If you started aiming low enough, your vertical recoil is now maxed out and you don't have to fight it by pulling down on your aim. Now, I will say that this works great in most cases, especially at further ranges, but on some weapons and in some instances, it's more effective to just learn to manually control your recoil by slowly pulling down on your joystick or your mouse. Now, if you found that last tip helpful, consider slapping the like button. I think I heard it say something very disrespectful about your mother. I'm just playing, but I really appreciate it if you give this video a like. All right, now let's get into a breakdown of damage and range. We'll provide time to kill values here, which tells you how fast you can eliminate an enemy when you are shooting the gun at max fire rate. Now, we'll be doing all tests with a blue rare version of each weapon unless it's not available. Damage scales slightly upwards as you increase in rarity, and so does recoil kick, but the blue rarity is a solid place to judge from. I'll be providing the base time to kill stat for each weapon before damage fall off occurs, and then I'll also give you a 75 meter distance time to kill, where most ARs start to get a significant decrease in damage. Alright, so this list will basically be from worst to best. Let's start off with the rare DMR time to kill. Body shot is 2.1 seconds. Headshots is 1.4 seconds, which is still pretty slow. And 75 meters out, the body shot is 2.3 seconds time to kill. Next up is the rare tactical AR. Body shots is 1.6 seconds time to kill. Headshot is 1.1 seconds time to kill. And 75 meter out body shot is 2 seconds time to kill. Next up, we have the rare Enforcer AR time to kill. Body shot on this is 1.5 seconds. Headshot is 0.8 seconds. 75 meter out body shot damage is the same as before, 1.5 seconds. All right, next up we have the Warforged AR time to kill. Body shot 1.3 seconds. Headshot 0.9 seconds. 75 meter out body shot 1.5 seconds. So a little bit of a slowdown there, and it's definitely harder to hit shots at longer ranges with this gun due to the horizontal recoil. All right, next up we have the Mythic Combat AR time to kill. This is a Mythic. We don't have a rare version of this in the game yet, but we probably will. So the body shot for this is 1 second time to kill. Headshot is 0.75 seconds time to kill. And 75 meter out body shot is 1.2 second time to kill. Very, very quick. This gun's insane. Alright, now let's talk about each assault rifle and how to use them most effectively, as well as any other tips I've discovered. I'm going to start with my favorite IRs and then finish with my least favorite. Actually, we'll finish with the Tribeam rifle, which is also very good, but in a very niche way. Alright, let's start off with the Combat Assault Rifle. The current Mythic version of the Combat Assault Rifle is easily the best AR in the game right now, and when the normal versions of this gun are released, I would imagine that they'd still be very good due to all the strengths that this gun has. Let's go through the list. First off, it has a very quick time to kill of about 1 second at close and long range. The Mythic Combat AR starts to see 1 point of damage drop off at 55 meters away, which is actually really impressive, and only 2 points at 100 meters away, meaning this gun is usable at pretty much any range. And this is especially because the gun has such very little horizontal recoil. It's pretty much got perfect vertical recoil. So if you can control control that vertical recoil, this thing is an absolute beast at any range. And if you use that vertical recoil glitch that I taught you earlier, this thing is practically just a laser beam. The Combat AR also has a very large magazine, so it's excellent against cars. It can deal 875 damage per magazine to a car, which is more than half of any car's health in solos. So spraying 2 magazines will kill any car in solos. Now the hip fire accuracy is very effective within 20 meters, but past 25 meters it definitely gets harder, but the large magazine helps with that. When hip firing this weapon, I don't recommend full auto firing it. I would recommend burst firing this for about 2 or 3 seconds at a time so that you can let that bloom come back in when you're hip firing. The in-air accuracy of this weapon is also not very good, but the large magazine and high fire rate can increase your odds of landing damage while you're in the air. Here are my recommendations for this gun. I recommend carrying this gun in a 2-gun loadout with a combat shotgun or a gatekeeper. Due to its deadliness at long ranges and close range hipfire, it's extremely flexible and allows you to carry more utility or heal items, which is really important this season. My ideal loadout this season is a combat AR, a combat shotgun, nitro fists, nitro splashes, and for my last slot, I'll usually either go boogie bombs, flowberry fizz, or defensive equipment like bunkers or bubbles. Now, I will note that this gun blows through ammo, so having the infinite ammo medallion or eliminating other players for ammo is crucial. Alright, now let's talk about the Enforcer assault rifle. I believe this gun is being slept on right now. It's extremely strong and can work in all types of loadouts. One of the nicest things about it is how usable it is without any mods. Even without a scope, this gun is super accurate. So let's look at its attributes. The Enforcer AR has a solid time to kill at long and close ranges of about 1.5 seconds with a blue colored rarity. Now that 1.5 seconds is a very consistent time to kill because it has hardly any recoil while shooting and it maintains the same time to kill over pretty much any range. So if you know how to aim this weapon well, you're gonna get a similar time to kill almost every time you use it. The headshot damage is also a whopping extra 75% damage, which is where this gun really starts to differentiate itself because it almost feels like a long range pistol with that precision damage buff. Now the range on the Enforcer AR starts to see 1 point of damage drop off at 65 meters away and maintains damage up to 99 meters, which is very good. At 100 meters, it only loses 2 points of damage total per shot. This thing is a long range monster and it's perfectly usable at these ranges with a scope. Now as far as recoil goes, there is some very minor horizontal recoil, but it only takes place between your shots. So the gun pretty much always hits what it's aiming at, it just kind of kicks a little bit in between shots. I've never actually felt like I had to try to control the gun, and the vertical recoil on this gun is pretty much non-existent as well. So with such good recoil and such good damage at range, if your enemy is running a straight line at you or if they're standing still, all you pretty much have to do is put your reticle on them and then hold down the trigger and you'll be hitting them consistently. Now the Enforcer AR has a large 25 shot magazine that can deal up to 975 damage on cars, and with the extended mag you get 32 bullets, which can deal up to 1200 damage on cars per magazine. The hip fire accuracy on this weapon is actually very good. You can hip fire accurately even without a laser up to 30 meters away without a problem for the first 3 or 4 shots. After that, you need to let the bloom reset a little bit and then start again. And the in-air accuracy is also very good once you get a laser underbarrel. It's best when you're not pressing in any direction while you're in the air trying to control your character, as this actually increases the bloom significantly. So basically don't move forward, back, left, or right while you're in the air. Just aim at your enemy and pull the trigger and you'll have significantly less bloom. I was pleasantly surprised that I could hit targets pretty consistently from about 40 meters away while in the air with a laser attachment or not pushing my character around. But with that being said, if you're hip firing this weapon in a grounded fight, I don't recommend jumping because it instantly makes your bloom expand and stay expanded until you stop shooting. So you're better off staying grounded and just landing consistent shots while you strafe around. And it's also a lot harder for your enemies to hit you in general when you're not jumping around in the air, because when you're jumping you're on a set trajectory and you can't change directions quickly. Now my favorite attachments for the Enforcer AR are a red dot dot sight or a holoscope sight, an extended mag to deal extra car damage, a laser underbarrel for good hip fire, and a muzzle brake to reduce overall camera shake when shooting. I like the low range scopes on this gun because the camera shake from the small recoil is much less intense than a more magnified scope. But I gotta say, the 4x scope on this weapon is also very good because it allows you to get that extra zoom and hit headshots really consistently. Now, I highly recommend carrying this gun in a 2-gun loadout because it's very flexible. But I would recommend using a combat shotgun or a gatekeeper with an extended magazine because the hipfire DPS is not quite as good as an SMG at close range. Overall, the Enforcer AR is a really solid gun that can be used at pretty much any distance, and it's super consistent. It's got one of the highest damage per second stats and one of the best headshot multipliers in the game. It can be used for peak shotting well due to its high headshot damage or just laying down the trigger on someone at any range. I'd highly encourage you to go for headshots when using this weapon and also get used to the hip fire on it. I'll also note that this gun at any rarity is one of the best drop spot pickups because it doesn't blow through ammo, it has good damage per bullet, it has good hip fire accuracy, and you don't need a sight on it for it to be accurate like most ARs. Alright, next on the list is the Warforged AR. This is another great assault rifle that I'll often pick up if it has a scope, or I'll use it without a scope as an SMG. It's a more forgiving gun than most, and it's got solid attributes, so let's talk about them. The Warforged AR has the second fastest body shot time to kill, right behind the Mythic Combat AR. The major downside to this weapon is that it's got very intense bloom when fired without a scope, or hip firing, making a scope pretty much necessary for consistent damage at longer ranges. The Warforged AR is also harder to use at range than most assault rifles this season because of the recoil pattern and the severe damage fall off past 55 meters. Once you start using this weapon past 75 meters, you begin to have a 25% damage reduction, and past 100 meters you start getting about 35% less damage. The Warforged AR recoil pattern is also pretty intense without mods. It has a good amount of initial vertical kick until it maxes out, which can be completely negated again by the recoil glitch that I taught you earlier. But it also has a good amount of horizontal recoil, which can be greatly reduced by a muzzle brake mod, but even with this mod, this gun will kick to the left hard after about half a second of laying on the trigger. So that nice time to kill stat is a little inconsistent at times. Now, the Warforged AR has a large 35 shot magazine that can deal up to 945 damage on cars, and with the extended mag you get 45 bullets, which can deal up to 1200 damage on cars. The hipfire accuracy on the Warforged is okay, but only consistent up to 20 meters. After that, you'll be missing a lot of bullets if you're firing in full auto because the bloom gets very large. But the good news is that there's also a lot of bullets going out, so in general it's fairly effective up to 30 meters. Now, the in-air accuracy on the Warforged AR is pretty poor, especially when firing full auto without a laser, so I highly recommend burst firing this thing in the air. Now, in-air accuracy definitely increases when it has a laser sight, but it's still not a weapon to expect much from. You can land about 100 damage maximum in the air before the bloom really starts to kick in and give you trouble. When jumping around in combat, this weapon's fine with a laser, but it's not the best for shockwave attacks. Now, my favorite attachments for the Warforged AR are a red dot sight to reduce that visual recoil, a quick mag for fast reloads, a laser underbarrel for good hip fire, and a muzzle brake to reduce the recoil. And if you're wondering now why I never recommend the vertical foregrip, it's because it practically does nothing. Muzzle brake is much better for recoil control. Vertical foregrip almost does nothing on any AR. You can go ahead and test that yourself if you'd like. You can use my map here, Shinobi Testing Grounds, map code below. But yeah, I've covered that in another video, and I won't go in depth about it right now. Now, the Warforged AR is also good in a 2-gun loadout, only when it has a scope. Otherwise, you're better off picking up a different AR for longer range fights. Now, I almost always pick up higher rarities of this weapon when they have a scope because it definitely shreds at medium to close range, and it's really hard to beat. Now, really quick, did you know that you can financially support me for free by using code Toby1Shinobi in your Fortnite item shop? If you use it, please let me know in the comments below, and thank you so much. Alright, next up we have the Huntress DMR, which is basically like a light sniper sniper rifle. This is a gun that I can only really recommend in 3-gun loadouts and at higher rarities. When you have a gold version of this gun, it can 2-tap kill in Zero Build, hitting for 126 damage per headshot from 55 meters out. Now let's break down the attributes. The time to kill of the DMR is very slow unless you are dealing headshot damage. That's why this weapon is best used as a sniper, going for headshots, or taking quick peek shots at people and going for precision damage. Again, the gold version of this gun can really increase the DPS because you can hit 2 headshots at medium range to kill someone, but the purple versions and lower will take 2 headshots and a body shot to kill someone. Now the Huntress DMR's specialty is range, but even then I believe it's outclassed by the Enforcer DPS at long range and the Tribeam laser rifle. The DMR retains full damage up to 55 meters and then slowly loses small amounts of damage up to 100 meters. Past 100 meters, the damage remains the same and you only lose 4%, but that takes away the 2-tap potential with the gold version of this gun. Now the Huntress DMR takes some learning to use properly because it has a lot of visual kick when shooting. Therefore, it's hard to line up a second shot after your first one because the scope kicks above the target and then has to reset after what feels like an eternity. Therefore, you need to get used to the timing and placement of the recoil, but after that, it's totally manageable. But I have to say, the low fire rate combined with this large visual kick is a huge downside to using the DMR, and it makes hitting your shots repeatedly feel very difficult. Now, I've found that the major secret to using the DMR and landing consistent headshots in a row is to not fire the weapon fast. So don't full auto this weapon, just tap fire it, and you need to wait a little bit longer than you think before you fire the next shot to let the bloom fully reset, because the vertical recoil will actually stay higher than it looks. So you got to give it a moment to fully reset and then shoot again, and you'll be able to land consistent headshot damage. Now the magazine on the Huntress DMR has a small base magazine of 7 that can deal 500 damage to cars very slowly, but the extended mag gives you much larger capacity of 12 shots, dealing 860 damage to cars. But again, this damage is dealt extremely slowly, and I do not recommend using the DMR on cars unless it's your only option. Now the hipfire accuracy on this weapon is not good unless you're within 10 meters. Because this weapon hits for a minimum of 60 to the body, it can actually be pump swapped with a shotgun or another DMR fairly effectively. Although the hipfire can be pretty inconsistent, and in most cases you'll still be out damaged by almost any other gun unless you hit a headshot. But it still feels fun, and it's kind of crazy to see in action. Now the in-air accuracy is generally very poor on the DMR unless you allow your bloom to fully reset. And this can only really be done by using a shockwave and not pushing your character in any sort of direction while in the air, allowing you to hit hipfire shots fairly consistently. Otherwise, in-air accuracy is very bad, even with a laser. Now, my favorite attachments for the DMR are a 1.3 hollow scope or a 2x thermal scope, an extended magazine for that nice large mag, and then a speed grip. With this setup, you can hit shots at long and medium ranges, you have a much larger magazine size, and you can strafe to avoid damage much better while aiming down sights. Now again, I recommend carrying this gun in a 3-gun loadout and treating it like a sniper rifle, but even then I find it too niche to carry around in my normal loadout. This season, enemies are either flying around in cars or moving very quickly when they're on Nitro Splash or Nitro Fists, and this weapon is just not good at dealing with any of those things. Last and definitely least in the true assault rifle category is the tactical assault rifle. This weapon shoots small ammo like an SMG and tries to fill an SMG and AR hybrid role, but doesn't do either very well. This gun has 2 major things going for it. Number 1, its hipfire accuracy is very good when grounded, and number 2, it's got very little recoil. Let's take a closer look at the attributes. The tactical AR has a slower time to kill of about 1.6 to 2 seconds depending on the range, and for a full auto weapon, that is pretty darn slow. As far as range goes, the tactical AR has an average range and starts experiencing damage fall off at about 35 meters out. Thankfully, it maxes its damage reduction to just 15% damage fall off indefinitely past 55 meters. Combined with a good recoil on this weapon, you can actually deal some okay damage at range, but unfortunately each bullet hits for such a small amount that you have to land a lot of shots consistently. Now, the recoil on the tactical AR is good. It's really stable for about an entire 2 or 3 seconds, and then it has a random kick to the left and then resets back to normal. A muzzle brake can help with this a bit, but even so, it's not bad without it. The tactical AR has a small magazine for the amount of damage it puts out, with just 30 bullets in a normal mag. An extended mag brings it up to 39 bullets, but it still feels a bit too small for the low DPS that it has. An extended mag can deal 800 damage to a vehicle, while the normal mag only does 600. Now, the hipfire accuracy on this weapon is incredibly good, even without a laser. The key is that you can't hold down the trigger for more than 3 seconds, or else it will start to bloom too much. Instead, fire it in sustained bursts, and it will rarely miss within 40 meters. And that is one of the strongest attributes of this weapon, but in all honesty, a Thunderburst SMG performs better than this in pretty much every way. Now, the in-air accuracy on this weapon is also very good with or without a laser. It can hit accurately in the air up to 40 meters away from your enemy, and it also works well when jumping around in combat. The best attachments that I've found for the tactical AR are a long-range scope like a 2x or a 4x scope, an extended magazine, a vertical foregrip, or a speed grip to get improved strafing because the laser doesn't really matter, and then a muzzle brake to reduce vertical recoil. This setup allows you to take advantage of the very stable recoil this weapon has and use it against enemies at longer ranges, allowing you to land a lot of bullets consistently. Additionally, because this weapon fires so many bullets, it causes enemy screens to shake, which can make long-range duels very difficult for them. Also, because this weapon has such good hipfire accuracy, it doesn't need a scope for close or medium ranges, and you get faster character strafe when you're not using your scope and just hip firing. Now, I recommend carrying this gun in a 2-gun loadout because of the flexibility, but in all honesty, I'd rather carry almost any of the other ARs except for maybe a DMR if I was limited to 2 guns. The damage per second just isn't good enough, and it doesn't deal enough vehicle damage. Now I will quickly talk about the Tribeam laser rifle. This rifle is not in creative, but it is the only hit scan weapon in the game right now, and it has unlimited ammo. The trade-offs are that it has no scope, a very low time to kill, limited shots before recharging, and it does not have perfect accuracy after the first shot. Each shot deals 39 to the body and 59 to the head. This gun also deals a very heavy 70 damage per shot to vehicles. You can shoot about 10 shots quickly before having to let it cool down before shooting again. Now, on paper, this weapon doesn't look very good. In a lot of cases, it's not. But where it really shines is taking down vehicles and damaging fast-moving players at longer ranges. Because it's hit scan, it allows you to beam players out of the sky from any distance. As long as your reticle is on the player and you aren't spamming too quickly, you'll deal damage to them. Now, that's a bit tricky for most players because it has no scope and the gun gets a large invisible bloom the faster you fire it. But if you pace your shots and you have good accuracy, this thing is absolutely deadly at long ranges, and no other weapon can do what it does. For instance, if you take Loot Island with this weapon, you can beam people out of the sky who are trying to rift or jump pad away from you. You can also destroy any cars within sight with ease. Now, this gun works best in a 3-gun loadout alongside a shotgun and another AR or SMG. I do not recommend running this laser in a 2-gun loadout because if you try to use this weapon at close or medium range as a spray weapon, you're most likely going to lose the gunfight to a real assault rifle. If you do choose to run it in a 2-gun loadout, you need to have a shotgun with a large magazine and good damage, such as the combat shotgun or a gatekeeper with 5 shots in the mag, so you don't have to rely as much on your spray weapon for cleanup. You really can't expect to compete with other ARs or SMGs at medium or close range with this gun unless you are peak shotting, and even then it's not that good. Instead, the gun should almost solely be used when your target is at far ranges or when they're moving very fast and projectile bullets are hard to land. I also recommend tap firing this weapon in almost all cases unless you are shooting at vehicles. Now, I've found that the Tribeam laser rifle is much more accurate if you're standing completely still or if you are crouched while firing. If you fire this weapon too fast, the bloom really starts to get out of control, so a way to negate that is to crouch down or stand completely still at longer ranges. You can also run 2 of these guns in your loadout and swap between them during the cooldowns so that you never have to stop shooting, which is actually insane for blowing up vehicles. Overall, I think the Tribeam laser rifle is a very solid gun, but it is not very flexible. It certainly fills a certain niche. Alright y'all, I hope this video helped you out. If it did, please consider smashing that like button and using code TOBY1SHINOBI in your Fortnite item shop. And if you like in-depth breakdowns like this, I highly encourage you to check out my Fortnite Zero Build playlist on my YouTube channel. I promise you will not regret it. And if you want to take your Zero Build gameplay to the next level, consider hitting that join button down below or in the video description and becoming a Shinobi Clan member. That gives you full access to our Discord full of awesome people and great resources. And if you join at the master level, you also get access to training with myself and other masters 2 to 3 days a week. All right, my friend, thank you so much for watching. Have yourself a great day. Shinobi out.